First Contact's price. The Galactic Alliance had rules about everything. Rules about trade routes, rules about colonization, rules about warfare, but they had never encountered a species that made them question every single one of those rules until they met humans. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the bridge of the ESS Horizon, Earth's first faster-than-light capable warship, watching the holographic display of the Centauri colony burning. The attack had come without warning, without declaration, without mercy. 30,000 colonists, gone in an instant. "Play it again," she commanded, her voice steady despite the rage building inside her. The holographic display rewound, showing the massacre from the beginning. 3 ships of unknown design had emerged from slip space, their hulls covered in what appeared to be organic armor. They had bypassed every defense system, as if they didn't exist. "Ma'am," her XO, Commander Rodriguez, spoke up. "The Galactic Alliance Council is requesting an audience. They say they can explain." Chen's laugh was hollow. "Explain? They can explain why a member race of their precious alliance just committed genocide." The holographic display shifted, revealing the faces of the Alliance Council. 7 different species, all looking appropriately grave. The Vizari representative, a crystalline being named Solven, spoke first. "Admiral Chen, we extend our deepest condolences for your loss. The Myriad were not supposed to be in that sector. Not supposed to be." Chen's words cut through the diplomatic pleasantries like a plasma torch through hull plating. 30,000 humans are dead, and your response is that they weren't supposed to be there. The situation is complex. A serpentine creature called Sistol interjected. The Myriad operate on different principles than most species. They view expanding civilizations as threats to be eliminated before they can become genuine competitors. Chen's tactical display suddenly lit up with new signatures. More Myriad ships, approaching from multiple vectors. But this time, they weren't facing a defenseless colony. "Tell me, council members," Chen's voice was deadly calm now. "In your rules about warfare, did you ever consider what happens when you push a species that evolved as persistence predators into a corner?" The council members exchanged confused looks. The concept was apparently foreign to them. "You see," Chen continued, her fingers dancing over the tactical console, "humans have a very particular response to threats against our survival. We don't just fight back. We eliminate the threat. Permanently." The ESS Horizon's weapon systems came online, not the conventional plasma cannons or missile batteries that other species used. No, humanity had learned early in their space age that they needed to think differently. "Admiral," Solven's voice held a note of warning. "The Myriad are a protected species under Alliance law. Any aggressive action against them would be..." "Would be what?" Chen interrupted. "Illegal? 30,000 human lives were just erased. Your laws failed to protect them. So now we'll show you how humans protect their own." The Horizon's main weapon powered up. Not a weapon of destruction, but of creation. Humanity had learned to manipulate gravity itself, creating localized singularities that could be controlled with terrifying precision. The approaching Myriad ships didn't even have time to react. Microscopic black holes appeared inside their organic armor, tearing them apart from the inside out. It was over in seconds. By the first light, one of the council members whispered, "What have you done?" "We've introduced ourselves properly," Chen replied. "Humanity isn't interested in your rules if they don't protect everyone equally. We're not like your other member species. We don't accept defeat. We don't accept limitations. And we certainly don't accept genocide." The council chamber erupted in chaos, but Chen had already cut the transmission. She turned to her crew, seeing the same determined expression on every human face. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them everything. And prepare for what comes next, because the galaxy is about to learn that humans don't just survive. We rewrite the rules of survival itself." As the Horizon set course for the nearest Myriad world, Chen couldn't help but smile. The Galactic Alliance had rules about everything. But they were about to learn that rules meant nothing when facing a species that had spent its entire existence breaking them to survive. The war that would follow would reshape the galaxy. But more importantly, it would teach every species one crucial lesson. Never underestimate humanity's capacity for both destruction and innovation. Because when pushed to the edge, humans don't just fight back. They evolve. The silent strategy. The Myriad never expected silence to be a weapon. Their organic ships relied on complex bioelectric signals to communicate, coordinate, and navigate. They had dominated space warfare for millennia through their ability to overwhelm enemy systems with massive amounts of sensory data. But they had never faced an enemy who turned their greatest strength into a fatal weakness. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the classified research facility beneath the Martian surface, watching as her team prepared to test their latest innovation. The captured Myriad ship fragment floating in the containment field pulsed with a sickly green light, still trying to communicate with its severed fleet even after 3 months. "Begin quantum resonance scan," she ordered, her voice steady despite the exhaustion of working for 72 hours straight. The scanner hummed to life, probing the alien tissue with precisely calibrated waves of energy. "Dr. Patel," her assistant called out, "we're detecting something new. The tissue isn't just sending signals, it's creating a quantum entanglement network." Maya smiled for the first time in days. That's it. That's how they coordinate their attacks so perfectly. They're not just communicating. They're sharing consciousness across quantum channels. The discovery was revolutionary, but Maya was already thinking 3 steps ahead. If the Myriad used quantum entanglement for their neural network, then humanity could use that same network against them. Across the solar system, Admiral Chen's fleet had been fighting a holding action against Myriad incursions. The alien ships had become more cautious after their first devastating encounter with human gravity weapons, but they were adapting, learning, evolving their organic armor to resist the localized singularities. "Admiral," Maya's hologram appeared on the horizon's bridge. "We've found their weakness. Their ships don't just communicate. They think as one organism. Break that connection, and we break their ability to fight effectively." Chen's eyes narrowed. "How do we break an quantum entanglement network?" "We don't break it." Maya's grin was fierce. "We hijack it. I'm sending you the specifications for a new device. We're calling it the Babel Protocol." The next Myriad attack came 3 days later. A massive fleet of organic ships, each one larger than the last, emerged from slipped space near Jupiter's orbit. They expected to find human forces scattered defensive. Instead, they found silence. The human fleet hung motionless in space, their systems appearing completely dormant. The Myriad, sensing an easy victory, moved in for the kill. That's when the Babel Protocol activated. Quantum signals cascaded through the Myriad fleet, but instead of their usual coordinated battle plans, chaos erupted. Each ship began receiving thousands of contradictory commands simultaneously. Their organic processors, evolved to handle the complexity of fleet-wide consciousness, were overwhelmed by the sheer volume of conflicting information. "Look at them," Commander Rodriguez whispered, watching as the mighty Myriad ships began to spin and drift aimlessly. "They're completely disoriented." Chen nodded grimly. They never considered that their greatest strength could be turned against them. Launch the Shiva drones. Thousands of small, autonomous drones detached from the human ships. Unlike traditional weapons, these carried no explosives or energy weapons. Instead, each one contained a modified version of the Babel Protocol, designed to interface directly with the Myriad's organic technology. The drones attached themselves to the hulls of the confused Myriad vessels, burrowing through their weakened defenses. Within minutes, the entire enemy fleet was effectively lobotomized, their quantum network corrupted beyond repair. "Signal from Earth Command," Rodriguez announced. "They're picking up massive quantum disturbances throughout Myriad space. The effect is cascading through their entire network. Every ship, every base, every colony connected to their quantum consciousness is being affected." Maya's hologram appeared again, her expression both triumphant and troubled. "We didn't just defeat their fleet, Admiral. We've effectively shut down their entire civilization. The Babel protocol spread through their quantum network like a virus, disrupting their ability to maintain their group consciousness." Chen stared at the drifting myriad ships, feeling a complex mixture of victory and unease. "We didn't just beat them. We fundamentally changed who they are as a species." "The Galactic Alliance won't be able to ignore this," Rodriguez said quietly. "We've demonstrated that we can not only defeat one of their oldest member species, but fundamentally alter their entire society." "Let them worry," Chen replied. "They're the ones who allowed the myriad to attack us without consequences. Now they can deal with the consequences of humanity's response." As the human fleet began the process of securing the disabled myriad vessels, news of the victory spread throughout human space. But it wasn't just a military victory. It was proof that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their ability to understand their enemies so completely that they could turn their greatest strengths into insurmountable weaknesses. The Galactic Alliance had rules about warfare, about acceptable tactics and strategies. But humanity had just rewritten those rules, demonstrating that true victory sometimes required thinking so far outside conventional boundaries that your actions appeared to be nothing short of impossible. The silence of space was broken only by the occasional burst of static from the dying myriad quantum network. It was a silence that spoke volumes about humanity's capacity for innovation and their willingness to do whatever it took to protect their own. The galaxy was learning, slowly but surely, that underestimating humans wasn't just a mistake. It was potentially extinction-level event. Predators become prey. The Galactic Alliance Council chamber had never been so quiet. The holographic displays showed the aftermath of humanity's victory over the myriad. Thousands of organic ships drifting lifelessly through space, their once mighty consciousness network shattered into countless fragments. High Counselor Vexterra of the Arconian Empire, a being composed of living crystal and light, spoke first. "We have grossly miscalculated. These humans, they did not just defeat the myriad. They fundamentally broke them." The human ambassador, Jason Torres, stood calmly in the center of the chamber. Unlike the ornate robes and biomechanical enhancements worn by other species representatives, he wore a simple black uniform with a single silver pin, the Earth Defense Force insignia. "The myriad gave us no choice," Torres stated, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. "They attacked without provocation, killed without mercy, and expected no consequences. They were wrong." "But the methods you used," interrupted Zinka, the serpentine representative of the Self-Concordat. "The Babel Protocol. It violates every convention of warfare we've established over 10,000 years of galactic civilization." Torres smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Interesting. Did those conventions prevent the myriad from slaughtering our colonists? Did they protect the innocent lives lost at Centauri?" Before anyone could respond, new alerts flashed across the chamber's displays. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy. The myriad's defeat had created a power vacuum, and other predatory species were moving to claim their territory. "The Krell Dominion has launched attacks against 3 former myriad worlds," announced Solven, his crystalline form flickering with concern. "The Vorkath are mobilizing their war fleets. The galaxy is descending into chaos." "No," Torres corrected. "The galaxy is experiencing the natural consequences of maintaining a flawed system. You've allowed predator species to dominate through force, while hiding behind rules that only the peaceful choose to follow." He gestured to the tactical displays. "Humanity will not stand idle while opportunistic empires attempt to capitalize on this situation. We are extending our protection to all former myriad territories until a proper diplomatic solution can be reached." The chamber erupted in protests, but Torres raised his hand for silence. "This is not a request. Our fleets are already moving into position. Any aggressive action against these worlds will be met with the full force of human military response." "You dare?" Vexterra's crystalline form pulsed with anger. You are but one species, barely a century into space travel. The combined might of the Alliance would fail, Torres interrupted, just as the Myriad failed. You see us as primitive because we don't cover our ships in biomechanical enhancements or power them with quantum consciousness. But that's your mistake. Our primitive technology is precisely what makes us dangerous. As if to emphasize his point, new signals appeared on the tactical displays. Human ships were emerging from slit space throughout the galaxy, taking up defensive positions around vulnerable worlds. But these ships were different from those that had fought the Myriad. Allow me to introduce you to the Prometheus Initiative, Torres continued. While the Horizon and her battle group were engaging the Myriad, we were learning, adapting, evolving our own technology. The new human ships were smaller, faster, more numerous. They carried no visible weapons, but their hulls seemed to shift and change, adapting to local space conditions in real time. Unlike the Myriad's organic technology or your crystalline computing systems, our ships now utilize a hybrid approach. Quantum engineering merged with biological adaptation, but controlled by human consciousness. We've taken the best aspects of every species' technology and improved upon them. A Krell battle fleet, attempting to claim a former Myriad colony, found itself confronted by these new human vessels. The Krell, confident in their superior numbers, launched an attack. What followed was not so much a battle as a demonstration. The human ships didn't just defeat the Krell, they systematically dismantled them. Each vessel seemed to predict and counter every Krell tactic before it was even implemented. Within minutes, the mighty Krell fleet was reduced to scattered debris. That's impossible, Zinka whispered. The Krell are master strategists. Their battle computers process millions of scenarios per second. And that's why they lost, Torres explained. They rely on computers and predetermined strategies. Humans rely on instinct, creativity, and the ability to think in ways your logic engines could never predict. He turned to address the entire council. The age of predator species dominating through force is over. Humanity will ensure that all species, regardless of their technology level or military might, have the opportunity to develop without fear of extinction. And if we oppose this, Vexterra demanded. Torres' expression remained neutral. Then you'll learn the same lesson as the Myriad and the Krell. Humanity doesn't seek conflict, but we excel at it. We've spent our entire evolutionary history adapting to overcome superior predators. Now we're the apex predators, not through force alone, but through innovation and the will to protect others. As the council chambers descended into heated debate, Torres watched the tactical displays showing human ships establishing defensive positions throughout the galaxy. The predators had become prey, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or technology. It was their determination to ensure that no species would ever again face extinction at the hands of those who saw them as easy prey. The Alliance's awakening. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the observation deck of the New Horizon, Earth's latest flagship, watching as representatives from 30 different species filed into the conference room below. These weren't the powerful members of the Galactic Alliance. These were the survivors, the species that had lived under the shadow of predator races for millennia. Quite a change from 6 months ago, Admiral Chen said, joining her at the window. The Admiral had aged years and months, but her eyes remained sharp and determined. They're calling it the Terra Concordat, Maya replied, gesturing to the gathering below. The first alliance built on mutual protection rather than mutual fear. The conference room was a testament to human adaptability. Each section was environmentally customized for different species. Methane atmospheres for the Kelvin, high-pressure chambers for the deep space-dwelling nautiloids, even antimatter containment fields for the energy-based lumini. The Arconian Empire is mobilizing, Chen noted, bringing up a tactical display. They've convinced 5 other predator species to join them. They're calling us a threat to galactic stability. Maya laughed softly. Interesting how they define stability, as their right to prey on others. The tactical display shifted, showing the positioning of human fleets throughout the galaxy. The Prometheus ships had proven even more effective than expected, their adaptive technology allowing them to operate in environments that would destroy conventional vessels. Ambassador Torres is addressing the Concordat, Chen said, activating the audio feed. Torres's voice filled the observation deck. For too long, the galaxy has operated under the assumption that technological advancement must follow a predetermined path. The strong prey on the weak until they themselves are preyed upon by the stronger. We reject this premise. The display showed the ambassador standing before the gathered species, his simple black uniform a stark contrast to the varied environmental suits and biological adaptations of his audience. Humanity's strength doesn't come from our technology, our weapons, or even our strategies. It comes from our fundamental belief that every species has the right to determine its own path. The Arconian Empire and their allies see this as a threat because it is a threat to their assumption of superiority. A new alert flashed across the tactical display. The Arconian fleet, nearly 10,000 ships strong, had begun moving toward human-protected space. "Let them come," Chen said quietly. "They still haven't learned." Maya turned to her tablet, reviewing the latest data from the Prometheus fleet. The adaptive hull technology has exceeded all expectations, and with the quantum consciousness technology we salvaged from the Myriad. She trailed off as new signatures appeared on the display. But these weren't hostile forces. They were ships from the species gathered below, rising up to join the human defense fleet. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the Arconian fleet," one of the bridge officers reported. "They're charging some kind of unified weapons system." Torres's voice continued to echo through the observation deck. "The Arconians believe they can intimidate us with numbers, with technology that has helped them dominate for centuries. But they forget, humans don't play by their rules. We never have." The Arconian fleet emerged from slip space in a dazzling display of power, their crystalline ships forming a perfect geometric pattern that channeled energy between them. It was beautiful, terrifying, and completely predictable. "Launch the Iris Protocol," Chen commanded. From the human ships, swarms of microscopic robots emerged, a technology that the Arconians had dismissed as primitive compared to their crystalline computing. The swarms flowed through space like liquid metal, each particle carrying a fraction of the consciousness that humans had learned to distribute and network from their studies of the Myriad. The Arconians fired their unified weapon, a beam of pure energy that could shatter planets. But the human ships weren't where they had been. The swarms had created a quantum field that bent not just light, but reality itself around the human fleet. "The thing about crystals," Maya said, watching the battle unfold, "is that they have very predictable fracture points. The swarms found those points, infiltrating the perfect geometric pattern of the Arconian fleet. Their crystalline computing systems, so advanced and precise, never detected the infiltration until it was too late. The mighty Arconian fleet didn't explode or shatter. Instead, their ships simply stopped. The crystalline structures that powered their technology had been reorganized at the molecular level, transforming from computational matrices into inert mineral formations. "Status report," Chen demanded. "Arconian fleet is disabled," the tactical officer reported. "No casualties. Their life support systems have been preserved, but their weapons and propulsion are offline, permanently." Torres's voice rose again. "We offered peace. We offered cooperation. Instead, they chose to demonstrate their power. Now they've demonstrated something else entirely, that no species, no matter how advanced, is invulnerable." The observation deck fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just defeated one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. They had done it without taking a single life, using technology that their enemies had dismissed as primitive. "The Terra Concordat is not just an alliance," Torres continued. "It's a promise that the age of predator species is over, a promise that every sentient race has the right to evolve, to grow, to determine their own destiny without fear of extinction. As the disabled Arconian ships drifted in space, their crystalline forms now nothing more than beautiful but powerless sculptures, the message was clear. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was leading that change not through dominance, but through protection. The predators had become the prey, and the prey had found their protector. And in doing so, they had begun to understand why humans had survived every challenge their own world had thrown at them. Because humans didn't just adapt to survive. They adapted to ensure that others could survive as well. Evolution's champions. The ancient halls of the Galactic Archive stretched for kilometers beneath the surface of what had once been the Galactic Alliance's capital world. Here, amid crystalline data cores and quantum memory matrices, the collected knowledge of 1,000 civilizations was preserved. But today, something unprecedented was happening. The archive was being rewritten. Ambassador Jason Torres walked alongside Archivist Prime Zena, a being of pure thought and energy who had spent millennia cataloging the galaxy's history. The archivist's form flickered with barely contained excitement as they approached the central core. In all my years, Zena's thoughts resonated directly in Torres's mind. I never expected to oversee such a fundamental revision of our understanding of evolution and civilization. The central core pulsed with a soft blue light, its quantum processors adapting to incorporate the new data that humanity had forced the galaxy to confront. Above them, through the transparent ceiling, ships from dozens of species moved through the atmosphere, members of the newly formed Terra Concordat, conducting their first joint exercises. The old archive painted a clear picture, Zena continued. Species evolved through conflict. The strong survived. The weak perished. It was considered an immutable law of the universe. Torres smiled. And then humanity came along. Yes, Zena's form brightened. You proved that true strength isn't about domination. It's about adaptation, cooperation, and protection. They reached the core's main interface, where Dr. Maya Patel was already working. Her fingers danced across holographic controls as she integrated the latest data from the human fleet's encounters. The quantum consciousness network is online, Maya announced. We're ready to begin the integration. The room hummed with power as the archive's systems connected to the vast network that now spanned the galaxy. Not a network of control like the myriad had used, but one of shared knowledge and understanding. Show me the Arconian situation, Torres requested. The display shifted, showing the former Arconian Empire's worlds. Their mighty crystalline cities still stood, but they were changed. Human engineers and scientists had worked alongside the Arconians who had chosen cooperation over conflict, helping them transform their weapons of war into tools of creation. Their crystal technology, Maya explained, when merged with our quantum engineering, has created something entirely new. They're not just building ships anymore. They're growing sustainable habitats for species that could never have survived on their worlds before. And the myriad? Torres asked. The display shifted again, showing the organic ships that had once terrified the galaxy. But these vessels were different now. The Babel Protocol hadn't just disrupted their consciousness network, it had given them the chance to evolve beyond their predatory nature. They've become the galaxy's greatest terraformers, Maya said proudly. Their organic technology, guided by human insight, can transform dead worlds into living ecosystems in months instead of millennia. Zena's form pulsed with curiosity. But what of the predictions? The simulations showing that humanity's interference would lead to chaos. Torres laughed. Those simulations were based on the old understanding. That power must be held by force, that progress must come through conflict. We proved there was another way. The display expanded, showing the full scope of the changes sweeping through the galaxy. Former predator species working alongside their previous prey. Civilizations that had hidden from the galaxy for eons emerging to join the Concordat. New technologies emerging from the combination of different species' knowledge and approaches. The true power of humanity, Maya said softly, isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to see potential where others see only threats, to find strength in cooperation rather than dominance. And yet, Zena observed, you remain the most formidable military force in the galaxy. We do, Torres acknowledged, because someone needs to stand ready to protect those who can't protect themselves. But strength without compassion is just another form of weakness. The Archive's core pulsed brightly as it processed the new data, updating the fundamental principles that had guided galactic civilization for millions of years. The old equations of evolution through conflict were being replaced by new ones. Evolution through cooperation, strength through diversity, power through protection. There will be those who resist, Zena warned. Species who cling to the old ways. Let them, Torres replied calmly. Humanity didn't become the apex predator of our world by being the strongest or the fastest. We did it by being the most adaptable, the most innovative, and ultimately, the most cooperative. Those who can't adapt to the new reality will find themselves left behind by evolution itself. Maya's console chimed, indicating that the integration was complete. The new archive would show future generations a different path, one where civilization wasn't measured by its capacity for destruction, but by its commitment to protection and growth. You know what the most interesting thing is? Maya said, looking at the completed data streams. According to our latest research, this was always the most efficient path for evolution. Cooperation consistently produces better results than conflict. We just had to prove it on a galactic scale. As they stood there, watching the archive pulse with its new understanding, ships from 100 different species continued their exercises above. Each one was different, unique, powerful in its own way, but they moved together in perfect harmony, a living demonstration of humanity's greatest lesson to the galaxy. True power doesn't come from dominating others. It comes from helping others become the best versions of themselves. And in doing so, becoming the best version of yourself.